Y'all see the tournament. Let's get into it.
Earlier this month, we saw Michael Jordan sell the majority stake in the Hornets for close to $3 billion. After 13 years as an owner, MJ didn't have really any success. But I think most rational fans realize Michael Jordan, the owner, is separate from Michael Jordan, the player. Now, unfortunately for us, there was one guy in the media who took this story and just ran with it. As Nick Wright very clearly says, Michael Jordan's failures as an owner affect his legacy.
Come on, Nick. Nick, come on. Stop saying
an actual basketball player.
Like, you saying dumb.
At this point for Nick Wright, you just gotta feel sad. As looking back at this year's playoffs, this dude was uber confident his boy was in championship number 5. And after ending the Warriors dynasty, he was riding high, expecting that championship. Unfortunately for Nick, that didn't happen. LeBron was swept, and year 20 was officially over. Right. Now, tossing that aside, let's focus on the big picture. Let's debunk Nick Wright's claims that Michael Jordan not being a good owner affects his legacy as a basketball player.
My entire life, when we have talked about Michael Jordan, the greatest player ever, part of the story has been, and the shoes, and made the bald head cool, and the marketing, and the Jumpman logo. It's not the biggest part, but it has been part of...
I mean, you get all that after. You get all that after you accomplish greatness. You know? And I understand that. Being a LeBron fan, you gotta understand what's going on. You don't get all that by just being bullheaded. You know? Come on, man.
Of the story.
Now, stopping it right there, I want to interject really quickly. When it comes to Michael Jordan, of course, the shoes, the shorts, the bald head, the influence, those things are always talked about and always noted. But in a serious debate, looking at two players, who's better, who's greater, things like that really never come up. And for Jordan specifically, his career on the court was so great. There's like 25, 30 things I would list before the shoes, commercials, or that other stuff off the court.
That's just a bad take, because it's so... You can make the argument for Jordan being the GOAT without doing any of that, without talking about his shoes, his icon. No, none of that. You don't got to talk about off the court. On the court, he got he got it. And that's why...
And making a very quick side comment, if you're debating players, it's a dead giveaway off the bat. When you go to off-the-court activities, your argument against that player is really paper thin. Because if Michael Jordan was as bad as Nick Wright says, he wouldn't have to lie and stretch the truth so much and so often.
Furthermore, I would posit this. If Michael Jordan's run as an owner was dynastic, if it was awesome, if Jordan went from on the court to in the front office and they reeled off championships, everybody watching knows. People would be like, see, look at him. That's one of the reasons he's the GOAT.
So, stopping it right there, we're less than a minute into this clip and Nick Wright already has developed numerous hypotheticals that Michael Jordan fans might say if something happened that Nick Wright said happened. Like with any hypothetical, is there any solid proof? No. Any evidence? Of course not. Any facts to back up what he says? Never. And I want to be very clear in saying this, Michael Jordan as an owner, when it came to wins and losses, was not successful. But using Nick Wright's newfound logic, if you use Jordan's lack of success as an owner against him, you gotta do it for every player in NBA history. Guys who were GMs, coaches, assistant coaches, or even advisors in the front office. For example, is Larry Bird now somehow greater than Magic Johnson? As Bird, outside of being a player, in '98 was Coach of the Year and took Jordan's Bulls to 7 games. In 2000, he made the NBA Finals and pushed Shaq and Kobe to 6 games. And for numerous years after that, he was a great executive and basketball mind in the front office. compared to Magic, who as a coach was fired in under 15 games. And most recently...
But yeah. Basically what he's getting to, it does not affect your career, your legacy on the court, your greatness, as it should not.
Was fired as a GM in 2019 after less than 2 years on the job. Using Nick Wright's logic, his newfound criteria, Larry Bird actually is greater than Magic Johnson. And someone like Jerry West all of a sudden, because of this newfound criteria, is moving up 15 spots on anyone's all-time list. As Jerry West, as an executive, drafted James Worthy, he got Shaq, got Kobe, Rick Fox, got tons of players. Jerry West, quite literally, was the architect for 2 different Lakers dynasties. If Jerry West all of a sudden gets credit for 6 more championships, this guy's legacy is pushing top 10 all time. Of course, I'm being sarcastic, but using Nick's criteria, all of NBA history, the rankings,
just showing how dumb the logic is.
Just like that. Because like always, you can't apply criteria just to Jordan and not everyone else.
Maybe.
And I do find it pretty fascinating, Nick Wright of all people, bringing up Jordan as an owner. Because just last summer, Nick Wright had top 50 players of all time list since 1970. And for Jordan, spent close to an hour talking about him and his career. Do you know what never came up in that entire hour video? Michael Jordan as the owner of the Hornets. Once again, showing you guys Nick Wright in real time is moving the goalpost and changing his arguments.
I feel like this has something to do with the owners of these shows and the producers, They're definitely influencing what these guys have to say. Probably got a whole script. Look at the papers. It's probably, it don't look like this probably, it might not be too much on there. On my TV, not the best quality, so I can't really see the little rain on it. I just look like a blank page on my screen, but yeah.
Run as owner. Can we show the full screen, please? On the court, basketball-wise, he's the worst in the league for 15 years.
Like that.
It's got to count a little. It's got to be a little bit of the tapestry. Or we have to take all the other stuff away. And we're saying we're not talking about shoes or iconography or any of the stuff.
So, stopping it right there, I think Nick Wright at the very end let his true motive kind of slip out. As he knows comparing Jordan LeBron off sheer resume straight up, LeBron James can never beat him. But what he can do ever so slightly day by day, year by year, is tear away at Jordan and eliminate certain things from the conversation. And his overall goal is to hold Michael Jordan to just unreal standards while also smearing him. And look, things like the shoes, commercials, his worldwide impact, when you tell Michael Jordan's story, they'll always be brought up. But if his career was a book, Michael Jordan the basketball player, those things would be a footnote. As looking at Jordan, what you go to off the bat, 6 championships, the best scorer of all time, 9-time all-defensive player, winning MVP and Defensive Player of the Year in the same season, the shot 98, the shot over Elo, the shrug game, dunk contest, averaging 41 versus Charles Barkley, and of course, the flu game. You can go on and on for hours talking about Jordan, aside from the shoes commercials, and looking at just him, the player on the court. And I want to ask you guys, if we're including all this stuff, MJ as an owner, the shoes, commercials, why not look at college careers? As someone like Kareem now all of a sudden has 3 more championships. If we play this stupid game and go down Nick Wright's rabbit hole,
I feel him, man. I be trying to show people they logic too.
Worse on his all-time list. As someone like Kareem, from an entire basketball career, college, high school, pros, past that, is the greatest player of all time. And when speaking about weak arguments and bending the truth, there's been one tweet from Nick Wright I've wanted to debunk for so long. And this tweet from Nick came after Game 6, Warriors vs. Lakers, when Lakers beat them and won the series. And before I show you guys this tweet, when it comes to LeBron James fans,
nasty.
specifically Nick Wright, what do they always say about winning and championships? It's a team accomplishment, and Michael Jordan gets way too much credit. And guys like Horace Grant, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, they don't get enough credit and enough say in those wins.
Wait, is this
With
what
that
Nick Wright
in mind,
said?
let's call out Nick Wright, his BS, and his double standards. As looking at this tweet, Nick Wright says LeBron James, solely as a player, ended the Pistons, ended the Celtics, the Big Three in OKC, the pre-KD Warriors, and the post-KD Warriors.
Picking and choosing.
And the icing on top of the cake,
he says man.
5
They pick and
championship teams
choose. They don't
in 16
keep the
years
same energy.
were wrecked by just one man.
I feel him, but it's not
Of
just.
course, the hypocrisy, the double standards.
People on the LeBron side. People
But looking
on
at this
both
tweet,
sides, man.
is it
and that's my
actually
problem.
even accurate factually? Yes, LeBron James in 07 beat the Pistons. But did he end them? No, not really. Because the Pistons team he beat didn't have Ben Wallace, their backbone, and Larry Brown, their heart and soul. And the very next year, in 2008, that same Pistons team LeBron beat was back in the East Finals and took Boston to 6 games. Now, looking at Oklahoma City, yes, LeBron in the finals beat this team and quote-unquote ended them. But if you really think about it, did LeBron end them or did Sam Presti end them? Because theoretically, if they actually paid Harden what he was worth, he would have been in OKC and with the Thunder for at least 5 more seasons. And when it comes to this Thunder team, Kevin Durant was 23, Russ was 23, and Harden was 22, and not even a starter. Now, where I laughed the hardest where Nick Wright said ended the pre-KD Warriors. So, LeBron versus the pre-KD Warriors went 1-1 in the finals. That's not some big, huge gotcha moment where LeBron James just demolished this team. And what he totally ignores, smartly by him, is the KD Warriors beating his team back-to-back in the finals and going 8-1 in both those series. And when it comes to the post-KD Warriors, Golden State just last year won the championship. And yes, this year lost the Lakers in the second round. Saying LeBron James ended the Warriors is to be determined. But even with that being said, Steph Curry and LeBron's watch got 4 championships. So with that being said, that is the end of the video. As always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.
And that's the end of this joint. Y'all know what to do, man. Click on the last one, share the video, like the video, comment, subscribe. Out of there, man. Out of there.